name is Governor Ahab. About a week ago I released a walkthrough video of the server that we're on here. It's a private realm, and was showing you some of the builds that are on here. New to this, audio is kind of an issue as far as what I can record and what I can't do. So this is the first one where I'm going to try to introduce myself and who we are and what we do. I'm going to focus primarily on the builds that I've been working on the server, or on the realm rather, and in future videos I'll do a greater walkthrough through the rest of it. So we're here at the Governor's Galley, and we're going to talk a little bit about the mega build that I'm currently working on, and what we're about. So we are actually going to start a server as soon as the rest of the Caves and Cliffs update happens, and that's going to occur, as far as we know, in December. And the concept that I worked on for my build was a tree farm. And it's multi-leveled, and this is the first mega build that I've actually attempted. So what we're looking at here is the initial platform concept for what we're going to find underneath, and then this is the top level, which is the kind of the commerce level. I work on a realm where we share all of our resources. There's no actual economy, quote unquote, so to speak. We have one player who thoroughly enjoys providing resources for everyone. So the first step that I did in order to make this idea come to life was I wanted to build a tree farm, and I wanted to make it within a series of chunks, and I'll explain why in a moment when we go upstairs. So the very first thing I did when I came to the collaborative area is I dug this entire section out all the way to the bottom, and you can see there's there's floating platforms right now. I've been using these to farm trees for quite a while. And this is all going to get done. So this is the stage that we will begin work on soon. And it went all the way from the top to the bottom. Now that is my industrial area. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but not today in this video. You can see we're relatively advanced. We've obviously killed the wither. We have beacons going on several times. And we'll get to all those kinds of production later. This is Minecraft Bedrock. We have about 8 players that play on the realm. So we have this section here, and initially the way down is this little stone stairway. This whole platform is going to be revisited, and this whole platform actually went around all the way to the other side. And this is initially where I had my storage set up, and I've moved it in order to make room for the builds that are coming in here. This is the new entrance down into the lower level. It's a greenhouse, and I'm actually going to go upstairs outside and show you it from there, and then we'll walk back down. First, we need to sleep. So this is our main street, and I will give credit where credit is due in future videos as to who else I'm playing with and what we're doing. But the leader of the realm created a bunch of blocks and little geographic areas for people to build in. And the plot that I chose was this one that is dug out. And you can see one of the things that I had to contend with is a steep angle in the build. What I needed to do was to create a greenhouse effect, and the reason why I chose a greenhouse is because this one over here, which was not built by me, I'll give credit to that later, and this library, these were among the first 2 structures. So these 3 buildings here are probably among the first few structures that were put onto the actual Main Street strip. And I wanted to create a transition in look and architecture style, because this is experimental. The server we're going to be doing we're just kind of playing around on this and experimenting with different build styles. So I wanted to play with geographic transitions and architectural transitions between point to point. So like I said, that greenhouse is not mine, and this library is not mine. This spot over here is my specific build. So where I began with was a wall outline, and the whole idea was like a garden area and a tree farm, and it's become more kind of like a Hanging Gardens of Babylon kind of thing as the platforms underneath worked out. So this is all handcrafted. There are tropical fish in here. And I just wanted to create a place where views from every single angle provided you with something that was breathtaking, something that was visually appealing, And all of this is created, obviously, mixtures of textures, waterfalls, and that theme is going to continue down into that big empty space that you saw when we first began the video here. This is going to go away. This is just a temporary way for me to get down underneath and make sure that I can do all the correct lighting and texture work to prevent mob spawn. And there's a little pathway that goes through all of this. And this is the back side of the plot. So I do have some additional texture work to do to transition this lawn into the wall and beyond, and I will probably retexture some of this a little bit to make it less bland, but that's a last step touch. I want to get all the base work down first. And so we have the exterior, and the exterior goes toward the first shop. I have a wool farm underneath my industrial area, so this is my wool shop. And going with nautical theme, all the buildings that I've crafted in here that I've titled so far, all are in reference to the novel Moby Dick. So this is where all of our wool comes from, so anybody can come in here at any point and get whatever color of wool I have. And I have all the wool downstairs, and we'll show you that later, but probably not in this video. And that goes back out into the galley here. The galley is also something you can continue to go along with this path. So if you're walking around in this path down here, you can simply go up this little stairway unit and end up in the galley. We do have lots of villagers here. So we have Honeymead, Suspicious Stew, Golden Carrots, and this is just an exterior bar. This is where I moved my storage to. This is all the stuff that I dug out from underneath where I've collected. This is the area by which I go and I store it, and people can come in here and grab it, but there's a much larger warehouse which is communal. It's 3 levels, it's very tight, it's very cramped. This is probably going to all be moved later to a better storage area, but for right now I needed some place to move all the things when I began working up underneath. And then you have the main street that continues on, and collaborative and server builds that are over there, and we'll discuss those in a different video. Since this is a tree farm, one of the first shops I needed to have was a lumber shop, so I named it Sapling's Bounty after the nautical theme. And we have all the various products that we can farm here, including the warped wood and the nether warp block underneath. And in theme with a European market style, so you can see some of the banners that are coming down and around, and just the kind of general feel is an open field market with a street in the middle where there's life all around it. This is going up to the apartment complex. This is my quote-unquote house. It has not, the interior hasn't been worked on yet, but we'll show you that in a second. And over here is where you get all of the azalea blocks. I haven't given this a nautical name yet, and I will. But all the azalea products that we can get are in this area here. And then it kind of stops off. So we go back around. And then we can go underneath, and we'll show you these steps, or show these in a minute. I do have a couple of farms in here, and there's also a radio station that another friend put in. So this is where all the honey is done. This is a build by JC Plays, which I've modified. So he does bedrock redstone. Most of the redstone videos you're going to find are all Java related because it's the most common application. We all play on bedrock, and this is survival, and it is on hard mode. This is the radio station, which I don't have currently active, and it cycles all of the music discs that can be found in drops. This is the second installation of the radio station. We have 2 redstone heavy players on the server. One of them installed that. We go around the back. Again, it's another walkway where you get more views of the platforms, and then you'll be able to get a view of this when it's all said and done. So this should be a breathtaking place to sit for a while. And then we have our bakery. We have almost a full crate of golden apples. I could probably fill it up with the rest of the gold that I have. I just haven't gotten around to it yet, and I will. Cakes, pumpkin pie, cookies, bread, an oven, So we did whatever we could to kind of texture and provide depth to a lot of the places. So everywhere you look from every angle, there is something physically going on. And then sweet berries. And before we get back to where we're going to start our introduction, we're going to go upstairs real quick. Oh yes, also I forgot, Starbucks honey mead. So the honey farm produces all the blocks that are in here. They're still producing honey for me to fill up all these resources for people to use. So I do have quite a bit of storage going on with the various different types of blocks, but the goal of course is to fill these all up. So that honey farm is constantly working as I build here. 301 Parmacetti. It's kind of a take off of the English market, and also obviously Moby Dick. Parmacetti is the name for a whale. But I wanted to make sure that there were living spaces that I could access and also work in. The only two levels right now that are in here, or the only two real things, is an enchanting setup, and over here is the potion area. And then this is actually going to be the living quarters up here, which I have not done. And I'll talk a little bit about these color scheme when we go back outside. The other thing I wanted to do was keep the theme going. So a lot of this experimental build for me was playing with the moss blocks and what I could do with them. So all the trees that you see here are all custom made. And from up here you have a rooftop garden, where you can see Main Street as it goes through all the other builds that are on this collaborative realm. And because I wanted a place to use my elytra from, I've created another thematic rooftop garden in keeping with this idea down here up top. And this is also a place that I could use my elytra from. Then you can see the border of the block that we have kind of claimed as our building space. And as I mentioned earlier, the whole plan for this realm was just kind of experiment with different things, different ways of building. I normally don't build with these blue and pink blocks. It's not something I do. So part of the research I was doing is I looked up some European markets, and there were a couple of images with multicolored buildings that existed on a market strip. So I wanted to play with that idea. So you can see the base color here is kind of a pink and orange kind of build that goes all the way up, and this one's more of a blue and a purple. And then we have, obviously, to continue with the theme of this original building, which was the warehouse, and the sheep building over there, which is more of a Tudor kind of build. We'll walk back over there and show that a little bit. This Tudor build. So you'll see that there are elements of each one of the builds that kind of carries over into the next one in order to keep the theme going. And then we have another little walkway here, which I don't believe I've shown you yet. And once again, the nautical theme. We're not on an ocean, so I had to create all these rivers and little ponds. They're all handcrafted. And then this area right here is actually going to contain more shops. This original way that I was using to get down to dig everything out is going to be removed. And this whole area right here that's grass is going to be modeled, and this is going to have a similar look and feel as the rest of it. Places to walk through, things to visit, things to see. And then the greenhouse. So the entire idea behind the greenhouse was an aviary and a place to actually keep the bees. I originally had a bunch of trees up on this, and it was pretty much just grass and trees before I started tearing out the top and adding all of these extra details and ripping this out and creating this whole area. And I had, just normal bees and honey, and I wanted a place to put them. They've all died by this point. And then I also got some parrots from a jungle. And then I wanted to create this greenhouse. Again, this is thematic keeping from the greenhouse that exists over there and the original building on the server, which is the library, which we'll show you last. And so we wanted to kind of carry that over. And this building actually takes inspiration from a place called the Franklin Park Conservatory. It's not obviously a replica of it. I would have needed more space and a straight line all the way down here in order to make it that. But what I did choose were a couple of images that showed the building at night. And the building at night is lit up depending on the season with the different color schemes. So the image that I show was a series of blue and purples as it went up. And some of the corners are still a homage to that particular real structure that exists. work on the timing on that. And then I wanted a place that was filled with space, that again is a view from every angle. So nothing is, there is consistent idea as far as the structure, but everything else is organic and completely different, so that it's not the same thing over and over again. And it's multi-leveled, and so the other part of that Franklin Park Conservatory is they have black pieces that go on their stairwell. Couldn't recreate that in Minecraft. There's no texture that does a black and white in one where there's like a border line in between it. So change that to this kind of look. And then at the bottom, or one of the main levels in that, it's all brick. And then there's gardens, and my parrots are going crazy. And I'm waiting for this to change over completely, and then I will make this a water fountain in here as well, which is, there's one in the original structure. And then from here, you can go out both ways into this underground area. And this underground area joins to another person's communal build here, and we'll get to that later. It's not something to showcase today. So if we go on to what we're currently working on, sleep and let daylight come. So they've been asking me a while. This has been taking up a lot of time, so I was working on all of that and digging out the pit and doing all that. This was all going up, and they were saying, "Hey, man, you got to help. We need you to collaborate." So to give credit where credit is due, the library build was not done by myself. It was done by 2 other players on the realm. But what they did ask for was something to be done with the exterior. This was pretty much just all grass. So I've gone through and created a look that's in keeping with the traditional architecture style and the pillar style of this, and made kind of a plaza that exists beyond it. I took the color scheme and the idea of the color scheme, at least some of it, the black and white, from the gardens at Versailles. There wasn't enough space for me to do a complete homage to those gardens, but I went with the black and the diorite. Now their pattern in their public space is a lot more circular, and it's a lot more compact. I just went ahead and took the idea and the idea of that color scheme and just put a block here and there and block there and a pattern that goes all the way around. Underneath here you have a 3-block depth. Depth is something I've discovered is three blocks in width or in depth is what you kind of need in order to create a good look. So I have emerald, we have sea lanterns, and then wherever it would meet with grass, I've made sure that that look continues, so you don't necessarily see the grass, but you have a clearly defined border underneath. And then I took, this was the original entryway that I did here, this section, and the walls are kind of a different idea or version carrying over from that space over here, so that we can keep the theme going and make sure that everything blends together correctly. And then this plaza goes all the way around, and that theme will present itself again. So we put a water fountain here with the same kind of idea. And then I needed a way to separate this from the other builds that are over here that are nether related. So that's a nether store that's underneath all this. And then this is our big portal, which was not created by me. That is created by Lord Eximius, who did a lot of the builds here, and we'll showcase his work in another video. And he also has a YouTube channel. So this was the general idea, is to take this original build with all the grass around and bring the architecture around. And I've got some finishing touches to complete here. I need to get more lanterns to carry this idea around. You notice that there's a mix of copper, so I love to build with granite and brick. This is something I've always liked. And adding this copper block in is actually something that works out pretty well. You're hearing redstone right now. There's a build underneath here that's causing all that noise. And what I need to do in order to finish at least this particular ask is create a path over from here to this street. And I need to finish the exterior section of this running along this pathway here. I might remove the path blocks and just do some basic ground terramorphing here. This is a feature that I did not create, but it's also something I wanted to showcase, so the original builders of the library put this in here. and this is another build right next to it. So I don't want to interfere with that look too much. The boundary is here. But no matter where you go to, you've got this bordered carryover view that transitions from this to this, and I've got to work on the transition from this to that. And you have clear sight lines all the way down. So if you're on the main street and you're walking through, you've got a clear sight line all the way through. That's carrying all the theme. And then once I've done that, I'll kind of presage the next collaborative project that we're going to be working on here. We're old guys. All of us we've been gaming together for years in various types of games. The next collaborative project is this building right over here. Starcourt, which is an homage, of course, to Stranger Things, and we'll showcase that later on, but that's what the next collaborative project I'm going to be working on before I can get back to working on my mega build. So I've got a few finishing touches to put up here, and I will do that later this week, and I'll show you in the next video how it all ended up turning out after I've transitioned it all. But I wanted to thank you for watching. A few people watched my first video with no audio. So this is my first attempt at audio and also an introduction to myself. Again, this is kind of just a test realm. You might see things that don't necessarily match up architectural wise, but part of this was creating transitions and playing with blocks and different ideas that we don't necessarily play with any again. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a pleasant day.